Griner says that said something about that effing white girl. Now, can you imagine the outrage if Caitlin Clark said those things? That injuries that black girl.
The WNBA is once again in the center of controversy, this time revealing a deep crack in how the league is handling the protection of its brightest star. Alarming footage has now surfaced that appears to capture Brittany Griner directing a racial slur toward Caitlin Clark, allegedly calling her an effing white girl after fouling out in a tense matchup against the Indiana Fever. What makes this incident particularly damning is not just the language itself but the WNBA's staggering silence. Despite how much the league has financially benefited from Clark's meteoric rise and unprecedented popularity, they've continued to turn a blind eye to the escalating targeting, harassment, and disrespect she faces regularly. Caitlin Clark has been nothing short of revolutionary for women's basketball, lifting the sport to new heights, drawing millions of new fans, and bringing national attention the league could never previously attain. Yet, instead of protecting her from blatant verbal abuse and targeted physical play, the league's silence exposes a worrying failure to prioritize the safety, dignity, and fair treatment of its most valuable player.
Sure what she said, but the way people are taking it is that she said some very disrespectful stuff. Alright, so let's take a look at what she is saying right here. I'm not a lip reader, but it looked like right here she says, effing white girls. Oh man, effing trash, effing white girls. Effing trash right there.
What makes this entire situation even more frustrating is the league's complete inability or unwillingness to shield Caitlin Clark, the very athlete who has arguably done more to elevate women's basketball in recent memory than anyone else. Clark hasn't just raised the WNBA's profile, she's transformed it from a niche product into a national spectacle. But rather than fiercely protecting their most bankable star, the league seems strangely invested in placating the very players who openly target her. The lack of response to the Griner incident speaks volumes about the WNBA's priorities and, frankly, their lack of courage. Faced with clear video evidence that appears to show a racially charged insult aimed directly at their top player, the league has chosen the path of silence instead of direct action. This isn't just weak leadership. It's a shocking display of spinelessness, where avoiding uncomfortable public conversations seems to outweigh the basic responsibility to uphold professionalism and fairness.
The post from Brittany Griner, and I don't. One thing I don't understand is that, like, there is some kind of flimsy evidence, I guess. Like, we're not lip readers. We're not lip readers. She probably says trash. Like, it sounds like she has said. It looks like what it apparently says.
See, when you compare the WNBA's baffling inaction in this case to how other major sports leagues handle similar situations, the contrast is impossible to ignore. The WNBA has shown they are capable of moving quickly. Look no further than their response to far less significant incidents involving Clark, like the minor scuffle with Ryan Howard, where swift penalties were handed down without hesitation. Yet, when confronted with a situation as serious as racial language allegedly directed at their most important player, the league has completely stalled, revealing a double standard that is as glaring as it is indefensible. They are quick to act when it's convenient or when it fits the narrative, but when the issue demands moral courage, they freeze, exposing a troubling inconsistency and a profound lack of resolve.
Guys did not watch the game in its entirety. Brittany Griner fouled out late in the fourth, and she was in foul trouble the whole game. The referees was definitely calling everything on her. Even though the Indiana Fever really didn't get a chance to shoot a bunch of free throws that game, they was making specifically calls against Brittany Griner, and she was getting frustrated about it, man. Now, footage has surfaced, a couple different takes on this clip as well as to what she actually said. Some people saying she didn't call Caitlin Clark a effing white girl. Some people say that she said what a effing whack call. At the end of the day, she said something.
For those who didn't watch the game, here's what unfolded. Brittany Griner was in foul trouble for most of the night and eventually fouled out late in the fourth quarter. Frustration was clearly building throughout the game as referees called multiple fouls against her, even though Indiana didn't shoot an unusually high number of free throws overall. After fouling out, footage emerged capturing Griner's heated outburst. Some argue she said effing white girl, while others suggest she said, what a whack call. Regardless of the exact phrasing, it's indisputable that she said something inflammatory. and that should be addressed seriously. From a business standpoint, the WNBA's continued failure to protect Clark is not just morally wrong, it's strategically catastrophic. Clark's impact on ticket sales, TV ratings, and merchandise isn't speculative, it's supported by hard data. Her games consistently outperform the league's typical viewership numbers, her jersey sales dominate the market, and her arrival has sparked unprecedented media interest that the WNBA's own marketing machine could never generate on its own.
Well, now it appears that Brittany Griner has been caught on video. And yes, there's a certain amount of lip reading that's going on here, but y'all let you be the judge, because I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to try to decipher what it is Brittany Griner was saying. By the way, she fouled out of a WNBA game against Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever. She plays for the Atlanta Dream now. So here we go. Brittany Griner, who Joe Biden acquired 2 years ago and maybe the most lopsided trade of all time, this side of Deshaun Watson, was caught on camera saying what appeared to be some not very nice things about white girl Caitlin Clark during her little WNBA game.
Instead of smartly capitalizing on Clark's skyrocketing popularity, the WNBA is actively jeopardizing it by allowing a toxic environment to grow around her. Players like Angel Reese are able to fuel months of controversy without facing meaningful consequences, and now Brittany Griner's offensive comments seem to be getting the same free pass. This environment sends a dangerous message: targeting Clark isn't just tolerated, it's expected. This is not only morally indefensible, it's a financially reckless gamble. The WNBA has spent decades fighting for mainstream attention, battling for television time, and working desperately to build a loyal fan base. Then Caitlin Clark shows up, instantly solving many of those problems, and instead of protecting their most valuable asset, the league is allowing rival players to attack her, both physically and verbally, with near impunity. By ignoring these growing problems, the league is risking its own future, damaging its brand, and potentially alienating the new fans and sponsors Clark has brought in.
A lot of very, very racist women, right? These are racist women who were told that they were God's gift to women's basketball, that they are black, and because of that they are better than white people at sport. That's the one area that they can succeed over white people at sport, right? And this is their league, right? Then you got a young, the stereotypical white girl, pretty, skinny, is better than it comes into the sport and becomes the Michael Jordan, LeBron James of the sport. The face gets more publicity on one than they ever got in some of their playoff, any of their games ever. Brings more money. They are extremely jealous and won't say it. They want to make it like it's typical basketball, but no, they have made it very clear. Angel Reese, the Brittany Griners, that nobody cared about.
In any other professional setting, when an individual massively increases an organization's value, their safety and workplace experience become top priorities. This is Business 101. Failing to protect those who are essential to a company's growth sends the wrong message to both internal teams and the outside world. In this context, a suspension for Brittany Griner wouldn't just be about penalizing one player, it would be a defining statement that the league takes racial language and harassment seriously. It would show that the WNBA is ready to establish and enforce real professional standards that protect every athlete, especially those who carry the league's momentum. It would also demonstrate that workplace misconduct, whether in an office or on the court, won't be tolerated, and that the WNBA is serious about creating a respectful, inclusive environment where professionalism is non-negotiable.
Then we have another thing where Brittany Griner says that says something about that effing white girl. Now, can you imagine the outrage if Caitlin Clark said those things? That Angel Reese, that black girl, was running from that. Why is it that the black players can be openly racist? There's investigation into racist comment, but you can be racist toward a white girl who is bringing all these eyes to the WNBA.
More importantly, such decisive action would prove to Caitlin Clark and her peers that the league is committed to protecting their safety and professional dignity. This isn't about giving star players special treatment, it's about enforcing the same basic standards for everyone, regardless of their status or popularity. Taking bold, visible action would also send a powerful message to fans, corporate sponsors, and the broader sports world. The WNBA is not willing to sacrifice professionalism and respect for the sake of avoiding tough decisions. It would mark a necessary step in building a culture that celebrates greatness while refusing to tolerate hostility or discrimination in any form.
People believe that Bob Griner said trash followed by fucking white girl. Now, like I said, I'm not a lip reader. I don't know what she said. But again, the perception is the only thing that matters. And the perception throughout the WNBA is players dislike Caitlin Clark because she's white. I think the main reason they dislike Caitlin Clark is because she's white and has elevated.
The way Caitlin Clark has been persistently targeted exposes deep structural flaws in how the WNBA is managing its players and its public image. Instead of uplifting and fiercely protecting the athletes who are pulling the league into the mainstream spotlight, they are allowing those same stars to become punching bags for competitors who simply can't match their impact. If this continues, the message sent to young girls watching is disturbing. Success doesn't make you a hero, it makes you a target. The league, intentionally or not, is teaching the next generation that instead of working hard to improve your game, it's perfectly acceptable to tear down others with cheap shots, drama, and deliberate disrespect.
The thing is, I wonder what would happen if you catch one of the white players saying effing black girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would happen if Caitlin Clark was saying something around that way with her lips? Oh, the internet would burn down, fam. They will be coming at Caitlin Clark left and right. You already have some people, especially in the media, saying, oh yeah, Caitlin Clark always get these special whistles. She's this, she's that, race this, race that. So I can only imagine if she messed around and had a video that was close to something like this. Come on, fam.
The long-term consequences of this mismanagement are deeply concerning. If the WNBA keeps allowing its stars to be openly attacked with no real protection, future players with extraordinary talent may simply decide to avoid the league altogether. Why would the next Caitlin Clark risk her career in an environment that refuses to shield its biggest assets? Additionally, this hands-off approach threatens to push away the wave of new fans who came to see brilliance on the court, not off-court drama and hostility. Protecting elite players and fostering a respectful, professional culture isn't just good PR, it's essential for the WNBA's survival and growth.
One person said, I will be reaching out to the WNBA to ask if Caitlin Clark, a trash effing white girl, violates its recent announcement, no tolerance for racism and no space for hate campaign. We'll report back. Now, that is interesting because we know that they've been pushing their whole campaign about racism, attacks, and all these different scenarios playing out in the W.
The Brittany Griner incident now stands as a critical test for the WNBA. The league has two clear choices: either set and enforce consistent professional standards that apply to all players, or continue down the path of selective enforcement and weak leadership. A suspension for Griner would send a crystal-clear message that racial language, targeting, and personal hostility have no place in professional basketball. It would affirm that the league values integrity, consistency, and fairness, and that no player, regardless of fame, is above the standards of conduct required in professional sports.
At WNBA, what is your current policy on respect to fellow players and racially motivated hostility? Yeah, I mean, what?
On the other hand, if the league chooses inaction, it will only confirm the fears of many critics who already suspect that the WNBA lacks the courage to uphold its own core values. This would do permanent damage to the league's credibility, not just with fans and sponsors but with the players themselves. It would signal that professionalism and accountability are optional, not required, and that would erode trust across the entire WNBA ecosystem.
When a white girl joins a majority black league, her coming to the league brings more viewers, more ad money. The Caitlin Clark tide is going to, if embraced, rise all boats. The majority in the league, which is black women, has done everything they can to not welcome Caitlin Clark to the league. Why? There has never been any cost for black WNBA.
What happened Thursday night during the Indiana Fever's 81-76 victory over the Atlanta Dream was disgraceful, but sadly, not surprising. Brittany Griner, the same athlete who became a global figure following a high-profile international trade, appeared unable to handle being outplayed by a 22-year-old point guard half her size. Instead of focusing on her own performance, Griner resorted to what seems to be a racial insult directed at Caitlin Clark, a display of frustration and poor sportsmanship from a seasoned professional who should know better. Griner finished the night with just 5 points in 25 minutes and fouled out of the game. As she left the court, cameras clearly captured her mouthing the words that have now gone viral across social media. While lip reading isn't an exact science, most who've reviewed the footage agree it's painfully obvious what was said. The fact that this wasn't even Clark's best game, she finished with just 11 points, makes the incident even more egregious. This wasn't Clark humiliating Griner with a record-setting performance. This was simply a case of a veteran losing her composure and allegedly resorting to unacceptable language in frustration. To make matters worse, this wasn't even the only controversy involving Clark in that game. A minor altercation with Ryan Howard resulted in both players receiving a fine of just $30, a laughably small penalty for professional athletes. The WNBA reacted swiftly to that incident but has remained completely silent on Griner's alleged slur. This glaring double standard raises serious concerns about the league's accountability and its commitment to creating a fair, respectful professional environment. It's clear that the WNBA urgently needs to adopt clearer, more consistent policies for handling player misconduct, without favoritism, without hesitation, and without fear of uncomfortable headlines.